Welcome to the Drill Down, in-depth answers to all field questions. I'm Richard Spears.
And I'm John Spears.
And you should be listening to this podcast not on just your ears, but this would be one of those excellent opportunities to instead watch us on our YouTube channel for this particular podcast.
And why is that?
Because if for those of you who are actually watching us on the video, you're seeing that we have spent an enormous amount of money preparing a graphic.
That's right.
And so,
which just doesn't, come across when you're only listening.
Well, if you're listening to it, you can't see this graphic that we've created.
Right.
We're here in the World Studio here in the Magic City.
Yes.
And on the wall we have drawn a graph for today's lecture because last week we had a podcast where we talked about the fact that we didn't guess Halliburton's Q3 revenues for frac. We underestimated.
We were too low. And so that podcast was all about what does this mean about frac activity relative to drilling activity. The standard that we were using when we misunderestimated the Halliburton numbers. So
right, because in the old days you had 2 drilling rigs, 1 frac spread, or 3 drilling rigs, 1 frac spread. That was a ratio.
Yeah.
But this year, and by the way, if you're watching online, you can see my hand graphics now. So it's all relative. I feel like 2 college professors. But you saw rig activity decline.
Yes.
But frac activity declined really sharply, and then come back up in the third quarter.
That's right.
And that has implications on all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so today we want to talk about that impact on
oil production, U.S. oil production. Absolutely. So in our forecast of U.S. oil production is keyed off of how many wells per month are getting fracked. And so our base case forecast, at the moment anyway, is built around approximately 300 rigs running here in the U.S. next year. And given that level of drilling activity, the normal number of frac jobs per month would be around 400 or so wells per month getting fracked. So that's our base case forecast. And when you run through the numbers and you make some estimates about well productivity and decline rates and all the rest of that, what we find is that come the end of next year, the 12/21 of 12/31 of 2021,
a year from now,
absolutely right, the U.S. oil production under that case is 9.2 million barrels per day. So this is a December 31 number.
So for those people who are watching online, you know exactly what John just did, but I'm going to describe it for people who are driving down the road from Katy, Texas to downtown Texas. And what we have is a graph here where the x-axis is the number of frac jobs performed per month in the United States.
Yes, right.
And on the y-axis is 9 million barrels a day, 10 million barrels a day, 11 million barrels a day.
Right.
And you have just identified that with 400 frac jobs per month,
on average,
we're at 9.2 million barrels a day U.S. output a year from now.
A year from now, absolutely right. If, on the other hand, we run twice that level of frac jobs, and last week when we talked about that, we say you can sort of get to 800 frac jobs per month if you take the drilled but uncompleted count from where it is today, around 7,500 wells, to around 2,500 wells. And so if you do that, and for the all of next year, then come the end of next year, next Christmas, average U.S. oil production, if I spot my number correctly, is going to be right around 11.2 million barrels a day.
So good. So I'm just going to say,
which is not that much different from where we are today. Today we're running around 11. Yeah.
Exactly, because if frac activity followed rig count, we'd be at 9.2.
Yeah. Right.
But if it's doing what it appears to be doing,
we're working off that backlog of that inventory of uncompleted wells. Yeah.
U.S. oil output is actually 2 million barrels a day higher.
Absolutely.
A year from now.
A year from now, right.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, if you and do half the rate, then you get to around a 10.1, 10.2 million barrels a day number come the end of next year. So that has real implications with regard to oil prices. If 11.2 million barrels a day we sustain output at that kind of a number.
The world is not short of oil and inventories are not declining.
Yeah, inventory is stable. You're absolutely right. And oil prices, I think, end up in this $40 to $45 range where they've been messing around for the past several months. So this is a high frac activity scenario. Conversely means, I think, the lower oil price outlook. Whereas if we get to if we're only doing 400 frac jobs a month, then now I see, and oil production falls, 12 months from now we're above $50, I think, as long as demand, doesn't surprise us negatively.
Yeah, so I'm going to think about probabilities here.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think that what we're seeing, because of the behavior of oil companies and gas producers,
Right.
is we're not seeing the behavior of 400 frac crews, even though...
Right, or 400 frac jobs,
Yeah, sorry, 400 frac crews,
Yeah.
boy. 400 frac jobs per month
Yeah.
is not how they're behaving. They're behaving more than that.
Yes, right.
Because they would like to actually bring oil and gas on
Right.
from wells they've already drilled.
Yeah, they're not quite to this 800 frac job a month.
So they're not the-
best, not as best we can.
They're not the high case.
Right, not yet. They may
But
be.
they're definitely not the expected case.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we're trying to learn from this, and we'll certainly be monitoring it. But here's the interesting thing, Rich. So we get through.
I thought this was already
this is even the more.
Oh, it's more
Yeah.
interesting.
So let's say we run at this high level of frac activity,
800.
right?
800 wells per month.
Per month through the end of next year, right? Well, by that point, our duck count is down to around 2,500 or so wells.
Ooh.
A normal number that you would be looking at in a world of 300 active rigs, right?
Oh yeah. Right.
Okay, so
Right.
at that point, we can't continue to frac 800 wells per month
Oh,
because
no, you can
we're
only-
not bringing enough new ones online, right?
You can only frac 400.
Yeah, right. Remember, drill bit and
So
completed
you fall
wells.
in half in terms of your frac
Yeah, right.
activity.
So we can sustain this level maybe through the end of next year, coming close to the end of next year. But beyond that point, unless we raise rig count a lot, we'll have to fall back to something that looks a lot more like 400 frac jobs a month. And again, we probably wouldn't be running more rigs if oil prices are only $40 a barrel. Right?
God, this is an
Yeah.
absolutely fascinating situation that's being set up then, isn't it? Because the economics of oil right now
Yep.
say don't do it, but I've got this inventory that I can frac pretty cheaply, so I'm doing it.
Yeah, right.
And then a year from now, I have to cut my frac
Yeah,
activity
so
in half.
You want to know what
Yeah.
the 12/31/22 number is? So I
Okay, a
roll-
year after that.
Yeah, right. So if I run at this level,
Oh, I can't wait to see.
I go back to 9 million barrels a day.
So even though
Yeah.
drilling activity may be rising, I actually see in 2022 the collapse of oil production by 2 million barrels a day.
certainly suffer. Yeah.
Because I got no wells to
my
frac.
frac activity has to fall back. Yeah. So it will be an
Okay.
interesting dynamic if that's the case. And again, why would we be running more than 300 rigs if oil prices are only at $40 a barrel? So.
Well, we wouldn't be.
Yeah, right. So we may be able to sustain an 11 million barrel a day production for a year or so, but not much beyond that would be my point.
You know, I'm gonna when this podcast comes out,
Yes.
there will be an election upon us. I have no idea what the election is going to be, but one of the candidates has both said and denied that frac would be allowed.
Right. Yep.
But let's imagine that that particular candidate wins,
Yes.
and that he disallows frac work
Yeah. Right.
on wells that haven't yet been drilled.
Right. Yes.
So
There's a lot of different ways.
completely
But yep.
it's
yeah.
going to look like
Mhm.
that was a policy that had no impact whatsoever, because we'll be fracking
For the
wells
next
we
12
drilled.
months. Right.
Yeah, so it's going to look great
Yeah. Right.
for that position
Yeah,
for
right.
them
Yeah.
for another year.
For a while. Yeah.
And then
absolutely
it'll all
right.
fall
Yeah,
apart.
Yeah. That's going to be a challenging time. Anyway, so the key will be to keep an eye on how much frac activity is happening each month, and see how quickly we're drawing down that inventory of unfracked, uncompleted wells, and we'll go from there. So.
Thanks for listening to The Drill Down, or watching The Drill Down in this case. I'm Richard Spears.
And I'm John Spears.